Good evening, Tiger Valley friends. Thank you for listening to another story. I've got my doggy snoring behind me, so I hope he's not snoring too loudly. I hope you can hear nicely. I'm going to be reading you a story called Daniel O'Dowd Was Ever So Loud, and it's by Julie Fulton. And maybe we can all learn a little lesson from this boy. Let's see. Daniel O'Dowd was ever so loud. He shouted wherever he went. At the zoo, the chimps cried when he opened his mouth wide, and the elephants hid in a tent. Oh my goodness. He's so loud, he's scaring all the animals. When he shouted at school, his teacher, Miss Poole, wrapped a big woolly scarf round her head. She declared, "I've no doubt if you stopped shouting out, you would hear something useful instead." So she's saying he must stop shouting out, and maybe if he stopped making so much noise, he could actually listen. The class went to visit Professor McWizard. He built things like airports for bees, mad machines to cut hair, and invisible chairs, and a telescope made out of cheese. Daniel shouted, "Yippee! Look at me! Let me see! Oh, let me look! Let me see!" All the noise made Miss Poole start to frown. Daniel's shouts grew so loud that they scared all the crowd and made the town's lighthouse fall down. Uh-oh. Daniel screwed up his face and he looked into space. He saw satellites, planets, and stars. And then he shouted in shock, "Oh, I can see a huge rock! And it's racing towards us from Mars." Oh no, there's a big meteorite that's coming to hit Earth. Professor McWizard said, "Hang on a minute, I have a rocket I've made from a clock. If I send Daniel out and he gives a big shout, I think he could shatter the rock." So they want to send Daniel up into space so that he can make a big noise loud enough to break up the rock. Daniel clambered on board. The engines all roared and the rocket shot way, way up high. It zoomed past the moon and a spaceship, and soon it was next to the rock in the sky. Daniel gave a loud shout, and the noise echoed about, but the rock simply shuddered and twitched. He shouted lots more than ever before, and bang! The rock burst into bits. Professor said, "Wow, you can stop shouting now, and I'll explain how to fly back to Earth." But the boy didn't hear what was said in his ear. He was cheering for all he was worth. Uh-oh, how's he going to get back to Earth? The rocket sped on, and soon it was gone, many miles from young Daniel's hometown. When he saw with a fright that the Earth had vanished from sight, Daniel cried out, "I want to get down!" He bellowed and yelled, he hollered and howled till his face went a bright rosy red. Then he thought of Miss Poole and her listening rule. "I mustn't shout out, I must listen instead." That's a good one. The professor cried, "Quick, pull the red control stick." Daniel pulled it as hard as he could. The rocket swung round and flew back to the ground, landing right where the lighthouse had stood. He listened to his instructions and now he can get home. That's clever. Daniel O'Dowd was no longer so loud. His adventures had made it quite plain. I will listen lots more and I won't shout like before unless the earth needs saving again. The end. Have a good night, everybody. Sleep tight.